Hello and welcome back to Galton Parkway. You joined me for a Meet the Fleet video. Now this is going to be the first in a series of a few videos. I wasn't quite sure how to approach going about doing a Meet the Fleet video due to the size of the fleet. I did intend originally to do this by loco class, so having a video on the 47s, 37s, etc, etc. But my fleet varies somewhat in size, so you've got some locomotives I have 2 of, some locomotives I have 7 or 8 of, some locos I have 3 of, so it make the size of the videos a bit too inconsistent. So what I'm going to do today is introduce you to all of my sound fitted locomotives. Now there's going to be initially 9 of these locomotives that I've collected that we'll be looking at, so I will move the camera over to an area of the fiddle yard where we can get a good look at them, and I'll introduce you to some of the locos. So you draw me over at the fiddle yard area of the layout, and I'll run the first locomotive that we're going to look out into shot for you now. Now the locomotive that you can see coming onto your screen now is a Bachmann Class 37. Now this Bachmann Class 37 is carrying Dutch livery. The Dutch livery has actually been modified slightly to be rebranded with Transrail branding. So I'll talk you through a little bit about how I've gone about doing that. Once Mika Hakkinen stop with his racing out the front. Okay, so this is a split head code Class 37, originally released by Bachmann in the plain Dutch livery. The split head codes on the original release were not blacked out. I've blacked those out myself. I've renumbered the locomotive and I fitted it with Transrail branding. The locomotive has also been weathered, had full buffer beam detailing, and has had a high-vi driver fitted to the cab. Now this is one of my favourite locomotives as it best represents the period that I'm trying to model. It's that crossover period between privatisation into EWS, etc. This locomotive has been fitted with a Pulse Cheetah Digitrains sound chip. It's got 2 mega bass speakers from Roads and Rails in the tanks. The sound file I think is particularly good. I've been impressed with these sound files. What I'll do, I'll start the locomotive up so you can hear it, and then I'll run it off the shot and introduce you to the next member of the fleet. Okay, so the next locomotive I'm going to introduce you to is a Hornby Class 60. Now this is Hornby 60014, pictured in a triple grey livery with large EWS branding. Now this locomotive is named Alexander Fleming. It's number 60014. This is a standard Hornby release. All I've done with this one is weather it, add some drivers to the cab, detail the front buffer beam. I've also added coupling hoops to this rather than the proprietary tension lock couplers that come with the locomotive. Now the reason I've done this is because I found that the coupling mechanism on these Class 60s from Hornby isn't very good. When going round corners they tend to jam and pull off the first wagon of your rake. I experimented with all different ways of trying to get around this by adding weight etc to the wagons and limited and varying success, but I found the best way around this was to actually fit these coupling hoops. It's probably not that visible in the video, but they do sit just here. This locomotive is fitted with a mega bass speaker from Roads and Rails and Lego Man Biffo Class 60 sound. What I'll do, I'll start this one up and let you have a quick listen. So the next locomotive or unit that I'm going to introduce you to in this case is my Dapol bubble car class 121 in railtrack livery. So this locomotive has had quite a bit done to it out of the box. The locomotive has been fitted with the crew fully throughout this just to try and give it some character. I've also lightly weathered it, and I have actually rerouted the exhaust pipes on the front of this locomotive as per the prototype. Now Dapol supply this with one exhaust running up here and one exhaust running up here. If you look at pictures of the prototype, that's not how it runs. It runs as in the picture that you can see in front of you at the moment. I felt this was too bigger of an error to leave, so I've actually amended that myself and rerouted it, and it does transform the appearance of the front of the unit. This unit is fitted with Legoman Biffo sound, and again a Roads and Rails mega bass speaker. Now just so you know, all of the Legoman Biffo sound that I've got are V4.0 sound chips by Lock Sound, just to keep you appraised of that. So what I'll do again with this one, I'll start it up and run it off for you. Now the next locomotive that I'm going to introduce you to is my Hornby Class 56. This is a Class 56 56059 in EWS livery. Now this locomotive is one of my fleet favourites. I picked it up fairly recently actually at Worley this year, although it's been out for absolutely ages. I love this locomotive. I think it's a fantastic model. It looks the part, it feels the part, and when it's weathered it really comes out. So this locomotive I've weathered myself. I think that I've weathered it fairly lightly. Brings to life all of that excellent detailing on the bogies. Really nice, smart looking model, I think. Now, one of the main reasons I love this locomotive is because of the sound chip. This sound chip that I've got fitted to this is a Legoman Biffo sound file. Again, it's a Lock Sound V4.0. It's an absolutely brilliant sound file, one of my favourites. The way this locomotive sounds is fantastic. So what I'll do in this particular clip here, before I send this locomotive off, I'll start it up and I'll show you the drive lock feature that Legoman Biffo incorporates on all his new chips. Now what this allows you to do is pretty much bring the loco up to full revs and thrash it, just so you can demonstrate or imitate the haulage of a heavy train. Now I think this locomotive sounds its best when it's at the top end, so what I'll do, I'll thrash it right up for you and let you have a good listen to this one. So the next locomotive I'm going to introduce you to is my Bachmann Class 66. This is running number 66050. It's an EWS liveried locomotive. It's an Lord and Butler limited edition, one that they commissioned a little while back now. I weathered this, detailed it, fitted it with a cab crew, etc. Added some little details inside, added the etched nameplates, which I think has brought it to life as it does with all locomotives. The locomotive is fitted with a Zimmo 21-pin sound decoder and a Zimmo double Dumbo speaker. Now, I experimented long and hard with various different setups for sound for Class 66s using the Lego Man Biffo sound file, various speakers, and I just couldn't get happy with the way they sounded until I came across this combination. I think this sound chip is by far the best Class 66 sound chip out there. The sounds are Paul Chetter sounds. They purchased these ones from Digitrains. I'd recommend you give these a go if you're going to get a Class 66. I wouldn't necessarily bother looking at any other sound for a 66. I'll start this up and let you have a listen. You can judge for yourself. So the next locomotive I'm going to introduce you to is my Bachmann Class 37. This is 37114 City of Worcester. Now, this locomotive is probably my favourite in the fleet. I absolutely love this locomotive. It took me an age to get hold of one of these when I was originally looking for the locomotive when I started modelling this period of time, and it was well worth the wait. So I'll just talk you through the bits and pieces I've done to it. I've blacked out the head code boxes. I wanted a Class 37 with blacked out head code boxes. This locomotive ran like that, so I've added that feature. I've lightly weathered the locomotive around the frame. We have weathered the bodywork fairly lightly. I'm not sure how well this camera and light shows it up. It's got the etch plates fitted throughout. The only criticism I'd have of this model is that this headlight here is situated in the wrong position. If you compare it to the real locomotive, it's actually situated just there. So it's a little bit annoying, but I can live with it. Everybody else has got to live with it. It's not just like it's an error that I've made. So there we go. This locomotive is fitted with Lego Man Biffo sound this time for a Class 37. It's got twin mega bass speakers from Roads and Rails in the actual fuel tanks. So what I'll do, I'll start this one up. You can have a listen to this. I think this one sounds pretty good as well. So I'll demonstrate a little bit of the drive lock feature on this and rev this one up also. So the next locomotive I'm going to introduce you to is my Helgen Class 47 in police livery. Now, this locomotive is numbered 47829 and it's fitted in the promotional police livery that Virgin Cross Country applied. I think Virgin Cross Country applied it back in the day to try and stop all these naughty little retrobates, utes and rascals running onto the tracks, nicking cables and generally causing mischief. Now, Helgen 47. People will say to me, oh, why haven't you got a Bachmann Class 47? Personal preference, I prefer these. I think they look better, I think they look meatier, I think they feel more like a real locomotive. I just prefer them. I have had Bachmann Class 47s and I always end up going back to these. I'm a big fan of weathering and detailing locomotives. I think the detailing packs that supplies with these locos are brilliant. They give me a good opportunity to really make the locos my own and get them to come to life. Granted, some of the pipes I fitted to this are probably Hornby pipes, but still, you get the idea what I'm trying to say. Just personal preference, I like them. I know some people criticise them for being not quite the right shape, but to my mind I think they look great. Now, this locomotive has been lightly weathered again. This locomotive is, again, one that was very hard to get hold of. I came into the era that I'm modelling, what would you say, about 2 years ago, before I started seriously collecting this era, before everything was a bit of a mishmash, and this was one that I wanted for the collection. I didn't want the Bachmann one. I think if you put this one next to the Bachmann one looks a bit weird. I don't know why, it's just personal preference. Anyway, this loco is fitted with Lego Man Biffo sound and 2 mega bass speakers from Roads and Rails. I really do rate the sound in this locomotive. I think it gives off an excellent sort of burble that the real locomotive gives. So what I'll do, I'll start this up. You can have a listen and see what you think of this one. So the next locomotive I'm going to introduce you to is another Class 37. This is a Class 37 EWS livery with a split head code. Now this locomotive started off life the same as 37114 that you saw earlier, except I've done quite a bit of work to this one to get it to the stage it's at now. I mentioned to you previously that 37114 was really hard for me to get hold of, so Sod's Law dictates that as soon as I got hold of one, another one had come up. I found this one at the show. It was at a ridiculously cheap price, well underpriced. I think I paid about 79 quid for it, so I snapped it up. Obviously this gave me an opportunity then to do a renumbering task, so I plumped for 37051 Muirhead. The locomotive has been fitted with snowplows, unlike the previous one. I've got coupling hoops on this locomotive. Now the reason I've done that is because all of my previous locomotives you would have seen, they are fitted, bar the Class 60, with detailing and pipes at one end and a tension lock coupler at the back end. So I've got the nice detail at the front, and then I can pull the wagons just using standard tension locks at the back. Now with this one, I wanted to use this as part of a consist. I want to double head this with 37114, so it's got hoops at the front and hoops at the back. When I renumbered this locomotive, I actually resprayed the yellow or gold body side stripe. Reason I did this is because if you compare this to the gold body stripe on 37114, 37114's gold stripe is kind of a weird shade of gold that Bachmann applied. It was incorrect, so I used the Phoenix Precision paints, just corrected that mistake there with my airbrush, added Fox transfers, added an etched nameplate from Fox transfers also. Locomotive sound setup is exactly the same as in 37114, Lego Man Biffo sound and 2 mega bass speakers located in the fuel tanks. What I'll do, I'll quickly start this one up and run it off for you. So the next and final locomotive that I'm going to introduce you to today is one that you have previously met in another video that we've looked at. I'm just rolling that into the shot for you now. And this locomotive is a Hornby Class 67, number 67001. This locomotive has been weathered by myself and detailed. I've managed to fit sound to this locomotive as well as you've seen in previous videos, except I've got a small confession to make now. The TTS sound that you saw previously featured in this locomotive has since been removed. I just couldn't get the locomotive to run as smoothly as I want to, so I've replaced it with a Paul Chetter Digitrains sound file. Yeah, I must say that although the sounds were great with the TTS chip, I just couldn't get this one to run well. It's really strange. I messed around with a load of CV settings, etc., but I just couldn't get it to work. Now I know that this chip is going to be used in another locomotive by a friend of mine, and I think he's probably going to be able to get it to run, but you know, it just wasn't for me. It just didn't work out. So like all good things, they sometimes must come to an end, and that's what I did with this one. This locomotive is a 67. It's the very first one that Hornby brought out of their super detailed locomotives. It's got the stupid mistake on the EWS logo. If you get up close and read it, the locomotive, instead of reading EWS Railway, actually reads EWS Railway. Not quite sure how they got that through quality control, but they did, so well done, good luck to them. Anyway, I'll start this one up. You can have a listen. Again, Paul Chetter Zimmo sound, very similar to the Class 66 sounds that I've got. Suspiciously so that I'm wondering if they're actually the same sound file, but I'll start it up and I'll run it off and you can have a listen. So that draws this video to a conclusion. Today you have met the sound fitted fleet. Now I'm hoping that this won't be the sound fitted fleet for very long. I'll be able to continue to expand this. Now unfortunately sound chips do cost a lot. You know, you're looking at more or less doubling the cost of a locomotive, and by the time you've fitted decent speakers it does become an expensive task. The next Meet the Fleet video that I'm going to do, I've got absolutely no idea how I'm going to do it now. I'll probably try and split it up into Class 37, Class 47, do one video of that, and then classes ascending through the classes until we've finished and seen everything that I've got at the moment. Now, as you know, as modelers, if you are modelers, your fleet always changes, so Meet the Fleet videos are probably going to become outdated fairly rapidly. What I'll do, my intention will be, when I get a new locomotive, I will make a new little video on that so you can see what I've had and what I've done to it. I can show you perhaps one day the process that I go through when I get the locomotive from out of the box to onto the layout. Normally the different detailing I'll do, the things I'll do to it, the sound fitment, all the way through to it being on the layout hauling trains. So thanks for having a look at this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it's given you a decent view of some of the different sounds that are available on the market and the different decoders, and I'm hoping the little bits and pieces of information that I've given you in this video help you make decisions when making your next sound purchases. If I had to rate these sound chips in order of my preference of which was the best, is very hard. I think they're all equally very good. I would recommend though, personally, if you're getting a Class 66 sound, go for the Zimmo sound. It's definitely the best sound out there. It projects the sound a lot better. It's nice and loud compared to other sounds that I've tried. If you're getting a Class 56 sound, go for Lego Man Biffo. It's absolutely awesome. You know, I could go on and talk about these locos for ages, but anyway, what I do, I think I'll end the video there. Thanks for your time. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for the continued subscriptions, likes and comments. It's blown me away how much these have snowballed in a period of 3 to 4 weeks that I've been doing the channel. I've gone from 0 followers to knocking on 350 in next to no time at all. So I appreciate that. I'd like to thank Steve Smith at Thornley TMD for the shout out that he gave me to bring some of his followers over that have come and had a look. Welcome to everyone that's come over from Thornley TMD. Likewise, if you're following this channel and you haven't seen Thornley, have a little look at that. I'll leave it there. Thanks for your time, and I hope to speak to you all again soon. Thanks very much. Bye.